Issyk-Kul Adventures of Kazakh Sultan. When you are only 20 years old and it is your first long journey, what can be more beautiful? The sun shines brightly, it is spring, and all you have ahead are adventures and discoveries. On a global scale. However, he didn't know anything about it. Shokan Valikhanov wrote down the epos Manas, and of course, he did it on time. Because we did not have a written tradition, everything was passed from generation to generation by word of mouth. There is no doubt that this is the main work of Kyrgyz genius. Manas is an encyclopedia, a collection of all legends, knowledge, and moral concepts, which were acceptable in the same period of time. Around one person, the hero, Manas. The folk epic is something like a steppe, Iliad, Shokan Valikhanov. But the discovery could be impossible. Shokan nearly died during his travel. The adventures of the Kazakh Sultan in the Kyrgyz steppes. He took his first trip to Issyk-Kul, then to Khulja, and then to Kashgar. He talked to old Kyrgyz people, and his ethnographic records are distinguished by exceptional detail and completeness. Chapter 1. Travel Notes. In the middle of the 19th century, the world knew very little about Kyrgyz nation. Any information about this nation was unique. In a very short time, Valikhanov managed to gather a maximum of information about the history, traditions, geography of the region, and it was unique too. However, let's talk about it in more detail. In 1856, Shokan Valikhanov goes on a journey and draws a lot about this expedition. The adjutant of the Governor-General of Western Siberia, speaking in a circular language as part of a detachment of Lieutenant Colonel Homontovsky, should take part in the analysis of disputes between the clans of the senior Zhus and meet with the ancestors of the Kyrgyz families, the Ili Valley and the surroundings of the Issyk-Kul Lake. But first about the road, from Semipalatinsk to Ayaguz, and further. He wanted to see the grave of Kozy Korpesh and Bayan Salu very much, and to enjoy the nature, to rest. He wrote about it in a poetic presentation, demonstrating his remarkable literary talent. Voluntarily or not, but in his travel notes, Valikhanov imitated Lermontov. The best pages of his travel prose are similar to Lermontov's prose. It's nice to drink tea on the road, to think about the past and to take care of the present. For this purpose, I ordered the coachman to drive in a pace that will allow me to get to the grave at sunrise, when the lark sings the first song, when on one side the darkness and clouds go to the north, on the other, a purple morning sun rises and its light illuminates the trees and water. It is a wonderful light, a poetic hour. Shokan Valikhanov. But it did not work out. It was raining, dirty matte clouds, and no less dirty salt marsh did not contribute to the poetic mood. However, he sketched the grave. He drew beautifully. And he went on. Near the river Merke, there were a lot of gyrons. Kyrgyz call these animals karakuruk. A black tail, they were hunting for argali, but unsuccessfully. And now, finally, he made a stop at Bugu. There was a diplomatic task to reconcile two Kyrgyz tribes, Bugu and Sarabagish. There was some trouble because of the pasture. Sometimes the confrontation was so severe that it led to a serious bloodshed. The Bij court gave the analysis of disputes. The main judge, Lieutenant Colonel Homontovsky, tries to judge fairly to make sure that all parties are satisfied. Valikhanov helps him. Two tribes were enemies with each other. He reconciled them and brought to Homontovsky. Kyrgyz allegiance is the merit of Shokan Valikhanov. According to tradition, friendly accord was secured by a large feast, and then it happened. Chapter 2. Steppe Iliad. After midnight, in the wavering light of the fire, a singer appeared in a felt cap. Rocking from side to side, he sang, and his hands not occupied with a musical instrument fascinated Shokhan. Here, a warrior guards himself with a sword. A girl puts on a festive gown. Kyrgyz Mananshi not only sang, he played all the roles, like a whole troupe of dramatic actors. The voice of the narrator trembled. Tears streamed down his face. Shokhan wrote everything down. Irina Strelkova, Shokhan Valekhanov. The day that was inscribed in the world history, May 26, 1856, the first record of the epic Manas. He was the first person who told about it to the world. Prior to this, the legend itself has been preserved among people for thousands of years. Yakub's son, a young Manas, at 12 years old, he already could use a bow and arrow. At 13, he used a spear in his hands and stabbed the enemies. He kidnapped a lot of beautiful girls, beat the owls at 14 years old, took over the yurts. At 15, he was the ruler of a strong people. Shokhan Valekhanov, record of the epic Manas. But what will later become the property of mankind for him at that moment was ordinary work, an integral part of the journey. From Shokhan's diary entries, we finally saw Issyk-Kul from the Tobulguti Valley, a mysterious lake which he dreamed of seeing since his days at the Cadet Corps. How many secrets the waters of the ancient lake hide? Archaeologists believe that there are more than one city at the bottom of it. Allah has spoken, so be it. And the water started to flow in a huge pillar, and in one night the lake Issyk-Kul appeared on the place of the city. This legend is reminiscent to Sodom and Gomorrah. The earthquake that created the lake destroyed the coastal cities. Shokhan Valekhanov. Mysterious cities and numerous legends collected by Shokhan. One of them is about the deer, the patroness of the lake. She is worshipped by the Kyrgyz tribe Bugu. While traveling, Shokhan studied the culture, traditions, and customs of Kyrgyz people. A few days later, Valekhanov, with a small detachment, set off on an independent journey to Manap of Borumbay. With Khomentovsky, he agreed to meet again in a month. As a tourist, I was looking for adventure, but of the latter, we only killed a snake on Kudork and hunted for wild boars at Kurmet. It turned out that adventure, or rather a dangerous incident, is yet to come. Chapter 3: Descendant of the Khans. Women are very kind. They have a strong love towards children. They use influence on their husbands. Wives of Manapas do not perform any work. Even poor women work very little. It was unheard of in the Muslim East. Fathers are strict to their male children, while daughters enjoy full tarhan, which means freedom. Shokhan Valekhanov. He certainly flirted with Kyrgyz girls, but it was perceived as something bad since he was wearing the officer's uniform. As he himself writes, one such flirtation when Shokhan looked into the yurt where two girls were changing, significantly enriched his vocabulary with sophisticated curses. He was a man with a great sense of humor. He was a living person with positive features and flaws. And while traveling, Shokhan decided to make a small prank. He decided to wear a uniform of Kyrgyz Sal, a steppe dandy. They were always well received in the auls, especially by girls, but disguise was exposed quickly because Kyrgyz words were pronounced in a different way. He had to confess everything. When they learned that I was a descendant of the Khans, they became more trustful. The elderly people looked at my lean body and my face, and they made judicious conclusions that, a poor thing, I probably missed my mother. And they felt sorry for me. Who can mend my heart while I was far away from home? Who can clean my underwear from bothersome insects? The last naive words made me laugh. What a kind and simple people, I thought. Shokhan Valikhanov. He was still a young boy. He was, of course, unusually talented, receptive, and very attentive. The news of the arrival of the Khan's son spread quickly. He was welcomed with honors. There have also been strange incidents. According to Kyrgyz people, wrote Valikhanov, the descendants of Genghis Khan come from sunlight, and therefore they are attributed with supernatural properties. In one of the villages, he was even asked to conduct an amazing ritual. We have a possessed girl. We heard that a noble person can help her. How can I expel those demons? I said. It is necessary to beat a girl with a whip. They told me which part of the body, and demons will leave. No matter how I tried to persuade them that it was nonsense, everything was in vain. They left with displeasure, suspecting me of cruelty. A person can cast out demons with one blow and does not want to help. Shokhan Valikhanov. He describes nomadic places, what kind of families live there, what kind of legends are popular there, what kind of birds and animals can be found there. The knowledge of Valikhanov, who at that time was only 20 years old, is literally shocking. At the same time, it is known that Shokhan didn't have a special perseverance. We must talk about his special giftedness, a rare giftedness, a variety of giftedness. He combined in himself not only European education, but also the ancient wisdom of the East. His Issyk-Kul notes are full of references to scholarly works. Abulgazi, Bichurin, Fischer, Rubric, Karpini, Klaproth, Levshin, and many others. Moreover, he disputes some of their opinions. In particular, this is how he writes about the ancient history of Kyrgyz people. In the times of Valikhanov, many scientists did not recognize this fact. The existence of Kyrgyz people is being built on the fabulous era of Turkic history of Oghuz. The Chinese also knew about them for a long time. Justinian in 568 received a slave of Kyrgyz race as a gift from the ruler of the Altai Turks. Southern Siberia was a permanent place for their primitive nomadism. These are indisputable facts. Shokhan Valikhanov. The wild horde as a nomadic people live in felt tents, like Kalmyks and like Kazakhs, with the only difference their spherical yurt is much lower than Kalmyks, wrote Shokhan Valikhanov. The Kazakh yurt is round, more stable. The Kyrgyz yurt, on the contrary, is slightly more extended like a dome. In general, the whole yurt has a more elegant, dapper appearance. The entire top of the yurt on the inside is embroidered with arabesques of colorful figures made of felt. The ribbons supporting the yurt are distinguished by the brightness of the colors and the skillful arrangement of the figures. Shokhan Valikhanov. But the interior decoration of the yurt is extremely simple. There are necessary things inside, even if it is a yurt to the richest manap. Spartan life and emptiness of the yurt, as the Kyrgyz themselves said, is their ancient custom. Valikhanov writes, Epilogue, a dangerous event. From the diary of Shokhan Valikhanov. During one of the mountain passages, an incident happened to me in the gorge. He almost died. The horse climbed up and fell. By the force of the fall, I was thrown out of the way, but I stood on my feet. The horse, having lost its balance, collapsed down the precipice. I just saw my horse in the river, its head in a saddle between the stones. Fortunately, the cliff was sloping and the horse remained alive. But every cloud has a silver lining. This case has strengthened the opinion among Kyrgyz that I have dexterity and bravery. Shokhan Valikhanov. Providence made sure to preserve the life of this young man with the gift of a genius scientist and talented writer. And his first trip was a turning point in his whole life. He found his destiny of the discoverer.